Well, welcome to the Stone Roadie podcast. This is the one you don't want to miss. It stars Greg Reed, the Stone Roadie, and Griff, the rocket scientist. Let's not forget Captain Galaxy and all the old friends come along. Lord Willie, Tonk, and Skinner, and leaving you with a song.
Hello there, this is Alan Collins, and you're listening to the
Stoned Roadie Show. The Stoned Roadie Show, podcast 313, and roll 'em if you got 'em. Alrighty then, fellows, Stoned Roadie Nation, looky here, looky here. My name's Craig Reed, a.k.a. the Stone Roadie, and like always, this is my co-host, co-pilot, and the rocket scientist, Griff Martin. And hey, Griff, it's Monday, June the 16th, and we're pre-recorded, and this is Sunday night, June 15th. So what the heck we going to talk about here tonight, this morning, and the next day for the wake and bake, the morning buzz?
I always go through the comments a couple hours before we go on, start recording, and this time I noticed a little something about Kimmy Ray, and I was reading her, and she was sounding pretty good on her comments at first, and then it started getting bad. And it's like, I don't know if she was drinking or what. And then it was turning angry. And she was getting angry. She even cracked on old Kathy. Called her Kathy Godless. I guess since that person that claimed they were Kathy Collins' cousin, and she was attacking you, Craig, and me, and Kathy, and so old Kimmy calls her Kathy Godless, and then it's like she must have got up the next day and continued the comments, because she started like actually making pretty good sense. It was like one of the most lucid comments I think I'd ever read. It says, I'll just go ahead and read it. It says, Ronnie was really struggling with his voice and sang about it in Need All My Friends. Did anyone even care, Craig?
Well, yeah.
I mean,
the main source of your band is losing his voice. Yeah, they cared, but he always said, it's going to happen one day, and one of these days Johnny's going to have to come in and take my place, but Johnny, he don't sing, he don't drink, and he don't smoke, and he don't do drugs, and he don't cuss, and he's a little church boy. So
was Ronnie, were you around for Need All My? No, you weren't around for that. When he wrote that. Well, his voice was raw from singing the blues. He must have already had some voice issues, huh?
He had polyps, yeah. I guess when you're trying to learn how to sing, you kind of stress your voice.
I saw old Lou Gramm on an interview, and he was talking about the guy that sings for Guns N' Roses, Axl Rose, and he said, I told him that he was gonna lose his voice because the way he was singing, and he says, you sing like that after a certain length of time and you're just blowing air out and there's no vocal cords. And old Lou Gramm, for his age, he still has a pretty good range. I mean, he don't sound bad. I've heard, everybody has their day, but for a guy that's his age and as much singing as he's done his entire life, I think he still sounds pretty damn good.
When I went down to Florida for the Rossington Collins band, they wanted me to get a hold of Lou and see if he would come and be the singer for Rossington Collins. And I said, I don't think that's going to happen. He's not going to get a foreigner to come and start a new band with you. They were
And
good.
it's really not. I don't know if he would even sound good with Lynyrd Skynyrd. It's not really his type of
Well,
thing.
Alan really liked a couple of his songs.
Oh, did he? You know which ones they were?
Uh, yeah, I can't think of. Yeah, but the one about Rockstar, the one the Rockstar. I can't.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, the one where he
Shining,
died.
don't you know that you are? No,
Yeah.
that's.
No, that's
Um,
Bad Company. I know what you're
okay.
talking about.
Jukebox
That's
Hero.
yeah,
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 Jukebox Hero.
Jukebox Hero.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Jukebox Hero.
So he liked that song, huh?
Yeah, he liked Jukebox Hero. Yeah,
I'll be damned.
he liked. I guess he liked their, both him and Gary did. Both of
Well,
them.
he liked that song by Pure Prairie League, Amy, because that's what he named his daughter after. So he really, and Chad told me he really liked that song.
Oh yeah.
I talked to old Lee Wilkeson a few days ago and talked to him on the phone for about 45 minutes and getting closer to getting him on the podcast. I got him to say he would do it, and then he didn't have a problem. But he's busy. He's got like a couple places here in Florida, and he don't live but a couple hours from me, and he is up in Illinois with some company because there's a lot of hail and a storm that went through. And if you ever look at him on Facebook, he goes live on Facebook and he's climbing up these roofs and he's selling new roofs through the insurance companies and things. And so I waited till like Friday evening because I knew that would probably be the best time to get a hold of him because he'd probably just getting off of work and that's exactly right. I caught him in the car, and I told him that he told me to call him after Father's Day, and I said, "Well, I'll get Chad to call you, and you guys work it out when you guys want to come on." So it'll be Craig's son and Lee if we can corner Lee into coming on. He's set up. He's got a good computer and he's got a good internet connection. So it ought to be pretty interesting once we get him on, Craig.
Cool. Yeah, Chad said he's got it set up for so he can bring his mother, my first wife, and his mother on for another repeat of when they were on before because we had a crappy
That was
connection and
two.
everything.
That was two podcasts that we did that had crappy connections. The one with Chad's mother and Lily. Lily was just a horrible connection. So yeah, we need to revisit both of those because there's a lot of good information in that stuff. And I asked Lily, I said, "Hey, if you can, get some stuff of your old man's, like maybe a couple of his hats or a bass or something, some clothes or whatever." He goes, "Yeah, okay." He goes, "I'll have to do that up in Panama. That's where I guess he keeps it at his place up in Panama City." So hopefully we can get that to happen.
Yeah, Chad's got a new computer, got his all computer desk all set up. Chad got a nice desk and nice chair, man. His mom got it for him. He got it from his mom anyway. But he's got that DJI
The
3.
Pocket 3,
Yeah, he's using that for a webcam, and he's got 3 or 4 different monitors, and
good.
he's got it all set up to do a good one.
So maybe we'll have a good connection, and I think I got my connection squared away. Hopefully, we'll see. But over time, but I got a new internet company. The one I had really sucked. Spectrum. I'll go ahead. That's who you got, right, Craig? But
I got Spectrum, yeah.
yeah, this area here with see, I've got that now. Now I have Frontier fiber optic, which is buried. And where you live in this old part of town where I live, all these old trees and telephone poles, the cable sucks. So trying to have a cable system like Spectrum has is just not a good idea, especially when you're trying to do a podcast. It sucks. And they actually fired me because it got to the point where I told them, if it just makes a hiccup, I'm gonna call you guys to come out and look at it because I'm not paying for this crap. So they even set me up with the other company and had free installation. I didn't have to do anything but just sit back, and they wanted to get rid of me. They didn't like me. So
I had Ohio Bell, AT&T since 1957. In this
really,
time. Yeah.
damn,
And
God,
I had internet. I got the same phone number I've had since I was 8 years old. uh, but they got the just for my phone and my internet was $150 a month, and so Spectrum kept sending me things, and one day I asked them how much it would be, and they said $75. That's half. It's exactly half, and it's just as good a service. I still have the
yeah, you
same.
don't have any problem. My sister doesn't have a problem either.
Most people out here have Spectrum. This is
I think it's
Yuppieville
just
here.
wherever you are, and the cable on the poles. If it's old, they can't keep up with it. But if they can't, make it work, then you shouldn't have to pay for it. That's the way I look at it. It's not my problem. It's theirs. It only becomes my problem if I let them do it to me. Yeah, then another thing I wanted to mention is I will no longer be selling any T-shirts. That train has arrived. The postage has gone up so high, it's just not worth it. And then I had somebody complain about the quality of the shirt, and I said, well, that does it. I'm done. And if you send out a triple X, I don't care where you send it, man. It's going to cost you $20. It just ain't worth it. It's
Triple X.
yeah.
I don't think I had any triple X. I had some double X's. But yeah, I sold a couple of T-shirts last week, and one of them went for like 1850 or something like that.
Yeah, so I'm just going to stick with the posters and the stickers. And if you go to the collectibles on the Griff Martin YouTube channel, you'll see all the other stuff. Just discount. Just don't look at the T-shirt thing, and everything else is still there. It had, I guess we had a couple more artists die. Brian Wilson and Sly Stone. Isn't that right, Craig?
Yeah, yeah.
Did you ever meet any one of those two?
Did some shows with the Beach Boys, but I never really met Brian Wilson, no.
Was he there?
Well, yeah.
He was, because he took
Yeah,
a
we did the
sabbatical there
World
for a
Series.
while.
We did the World. I did the World Series of Rock with Lynyrd Skynyrd in '77. Yeah, '77 World Series of Rock. Those were big shows back then. Those Belkin shows. Those were the first stadium shows, and it was with the Beach Boys. And then I did it in '79 with Journey.
So you did a couple times.
Hmm.
And then I heard old Willie Nelson's not doing too good. So, he's almost, what is he? He's past his 80s, right, Craig? He's almost 90 or something.
Oh God, I would say he has to be. Yeah, he's up there with those other.
He's like he's like the Keith Richards of country music,
I'd say
Been
so.
around a while. Well, with the way things are going, he might not have to worry about natural cause of death. Pretty soon we'll all just get nuked.
Well, get melted.
So live like there's no tomorrow. What I'm gonna start doing. Yeah, so we've got like about 10 questions here, and then at the end of this, we've got an on the road that I did up in Jacksonville with Buddy Crump and Fortune Child. At Jack Rabbit's little hole in the wall club there. It was very crowded. I didn't think it was going to turn out very good as far as filming because I didn't really have the chance to move around like I like to. It was so crowded, but for the most part, it did. It's new music that those guys put out, and that was the first time that they played any of it. I would have liked to have filmed it somewhere where it could have been more up close and personal, where I could have, because the video and the acoustics suffered quite a bit. You couldn't really understand the vocals, but the guys did a great job. Their music is kind of music you need to put a set of headphones on and listen to the lyrics and all the little notes and things because they're pretty good musicians. Yeah, at the end of this, you guys stick around for a little on the road. I also did a little bit of filming around Jacksonville before that while I was waiting on the gig to start. So check it out. And with that being said, I think we got another donation, right? From John Williams, right?
Yeah, we sure did. Here, hold on a second. I'm right in the middle of changing my backdrop. Yeah, yeah. John Williams, our friend that does the towers, he's out west somewhere, and he sent a $500 donation for Gene Odom, which I've already sent that to Gene. I keep Gene all paid up because he kind of uses the money as I send it. So as soon as I get it for Gene, I send it to him. And then he sent another $500 for the general Forgotten Survivor Fund. So that puts another $100 in everybody's little tilly. And
yeah, he I guess he got a pretty nice contract with where he's working, and he wanted to cut loose some more funds, and he's always a great contributor. Him and Robert Wheatley and just everybody that contributes, man, it all goes into that fund. And if anybody's just now joining us for the first time, Craig is the original roadie for Lynyrd Skynyrd, and he was with the band, traveled the world with them, and then he decided that he's going to do a podcast by circumstance, and then we started collecting money for 5 of the plane crash survivors for Lynyrd Skynyrd, and we've been doing quite well with that. Not as good as we'd like, but better than anybody else is doing. So it helps the guys out. They, around Christmas time, we try to cut them a little check, and then if somebody donates to a particular survivor, then we'll just give it to that one person, but the rest of it goes out amongst the general fund. And then we have auctions and things. Like if somebody has something they want to donate that's pretty cool, like an artifact, a Lynyrd Skynyrd, something that they got signed from the band or whatever, and they donate it. We auction it off on the podcast, and then we split that money up amongst them and stuff like that. And then we just have a lot of fun talking about the old days of Skynyrd, and every now and then Craig will go into a fat rant about fat people.
Yeah, more often than not.
I'm
surprised we have as many subscribers as we have, because sometimes I just literally insult my audience.
Yeah,
bunch of fat pigs and stuff. But some of them, if you don't have a sense of humor about it, I don't know. But anyways,
and you started walking. You said 1 mile a day, right?
Yeah. I had that episode with vertigo. I called you the other day because, man, I tried to get up and the whole room was spinning. It was like that all day. So, like I said, I don't move around very much, and I sit in this office a lot. So I started getting up and doing 14 laps around my house every day. I got one of them things you put on the ground that measures yardage, and it's 125 yards around my circular driveway around my house. So I do 14 laps. That's a mile. So
well, right after you told me you had that vertigo, I felt really bad for you, and then the next morning I woke up with it because I get that stuff bad too. I usually get it, I think I was getting it because I was working on something above my head. And anytime you know, when you get older, those crystals in your ears get moving around and stuff. And, you know, but when you're old anyway, you know, anything can get you. You don't, you know, it's just everything's magnified. So, but but it don't get Gene because Gene jumps in the car and drives up to New York, and then he didn't have much luck up there selling what he wanted to sell. Said it was a wash, and then he was just gonna. So he went up to New York, and then he's just gonna swing by Oklahoma and visit his daughter, right? Well, he got halfway there, and she said, "No, Dad, there's tornadoes hitting here. Turn around and go back." So he was going to stop by the monument and hit it on the weekend, but being as how he wasn't there, that didn't work out where he'd be going back home on the weekend. He kept going because there's more people at the monument on the weekend, and he'll every now and then you'll catch Gene at the monument there in Mississippi selling shirts and books and telling stories and things. So if you guys ever want to go to the monument and you want to hang out with Gene, you know, get in touch with us. Email Craig, and I'll let you know next trip Gene's going to be going up there or something. You can go hang out with old Gene. He'll sit there and tell you all the stories you want to know about all the old days. So anything you got, Craig, to talk about other than
Well, you know, I want to just mention our thing yesterday, the 14th, with the oh, what do you call those things? Protests.
oh yeah.
Yeah, and I guess Mr. T, you know, he was pretty rough on sending everybody out of the country, you know, and then I guess he got a kind of a rash of complaints from farmers and hotel operators saying, "Man, we're going to have a hard time, you know, farming and taking care of our hotels without these illegals." So I guess he's kind of trying to work with the hotels and the farmers to you know, work around that. But you know, that's not the intention. The intention is to get rid of the criminals. I mean, you get rid of everybody, and then if you want to get in legally, that's what the options were. But you know, it's kind of rough on some people. So he's backed off on that a little bit, I guess.
Well, you know, one thing about that, Craig, though, in the immigrants' defense, which, you know, it's going to sound weird, Griff talking about the immigrants and defending them. That last son of a bitch who invited them here gave them a golden ticket and made them feel like it was okay to come.
False promises, false.
Yeah,
promises.
you know,
and then the people sending them here, you know, filled their heads full of bullshit. You know, oh yeah, they want you there, blah, 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 you know, whatever. You know, and then, you know, pay us some money, we'll get you there. You know, it's just all about the money.
Yeah, so
you know, so it's not all their fault in a lot of cases, but a lot of them are just flat out criminals.
Yeah,
man.
those are the ones that we need to get rid of. And if people don't understand that, then they're just mentally ill.
God,
but go ahead, Craig. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's about all I had on that one. But I went to a funeral the other day, and after I left a funeral, I went over to my buddy Sammy's, and we were drinking a little bit of bourbon, and I was telling some stories, and he was going, "Man, that Mike Sparks, man," he said, "if you had a memory like his, man, you'd have a gold mine. Man, you would just have a lot of things to talk about." But he said, you know, but got to give you credit. You know, you don't make up no stories. If you don't remember, you just go, "Man, I don't remember," you know. But, you know, after Mike talked about, you know, us being on the Buckman Bridge in Allen's 53 Mercedes Cabriolet and running out of gas, I guess that's what we did. I don't, because that Mercedes, that Goldwing, pulled over, and I'd forgot all about that, but I do remember that now. I remember taking off in that car and going and getting gas and stuff. But
Well, that's
yeah,
normal to not remember everything. It's just he happened to that was something that stuck out in his mind, and you just kind of just didn't care too much about. But he's a pretty sharp guy.
oh
As
yeah,
far as he didn't do a lot of at the time he wasn't under any much influence other than some weed. I think you said he smoked
yeah,
a
he
little
smoked
weed.
some weed. Yeah, there's funny stories with him and Hank. Hank would just take that fiddle and throw it over his shoulder.
Yeah.
Hank would
And then
never.
he knew some stuff about Larry Junstrom because we don't,
Oh yeah,
ever get to
yeah.
talk much about Larry and being as how he worked with 38 and then Jeff
Yeah, he was a
Carlisi.
roadie for Jeff Carlisi and them guys and set their guitars up and stuff. Yeah,
It'd be cool to get him and Pops both on at the same time.
yeah. They never really their paths never really crossed.
That's what would be so cool about it, would be that
Yeah,
they never really met or anything, but I guarantee they got a lot in common and you and I would just sit back and listen.
yeah.
Those two guys, man, they got a lot of great stories.
But we've finally figured out how the Freebird guitar, the slide thing, was all strung and stuff because I had forgot. I thought it was two B strings and it was two G strings, and this whole time for 40 years, two B strings, and I was wrong. It was two G strings. I was confused.
Yeah, and he also basically said the same thing about whenever his first day with Skinner. They just kind of like try to get you as drunk as you can and as stoned as you
see,
can, and see
and
how
let you
you're
hang
gonna.
yourself.
Yeah.
Just let
So
you hang
that's
yourself.
and
Yeah.
Pops didn't know that. I don't think. I think Pops just and then Pops fumbled through it and he did okay, and they went, "Wow, that guy's great." Until the next concert, and he screwed up Gary's Freebird guitar. But yeah, Mike, he never had any. He sounded like he never messed up. Sounded like he did pretty good. He had pretty good luck with
Oh,
everything.
Mike was a good professional. Yeah, he was. He didn't party like all of us, you know. He smoked a little weed. That's it, you know.
The one great story that he told on the last time he was on, if nobody saw it, you need to go back and watch that one. I don't know what number it is, but he found a copy of the Declaration of Independence in a damn secondhand store somewhere or a yard sale or
Three
something.
dollars at a thrift store, yeah, for $3.
And how much did he get for it, Craig?
It was like a $500,000. But then Christie's took like 20% or something, so he got like after taxes and everything like that, he got, I don't know, close to 300,000, I think.
Is
Something
that
like
all?
that.
Fuck.
Yeah, after taxes.
Damn.
He
For
said nothing
three
changed.
dollars.
I just went and paid cash for a house and bought me a Mercedes convertible and went back to work.
Where did he find? Did he find it in Nashville or something? Didn't he?
I guess, yeah. I guess,
Yeah.
yeah. You know, he does. He's doing that thing with Soundcheck. You know, where he drives around and delivers equipment. So I guess he would, if he go by a thrift store, he'd stop in there and shop. Yeah,
Man, that's
yeah.
that's a
A
good
good
news
find.
story there if you ever heard one. All right, well, we got that on the road at the end here, and Craig and I are going to just go through a few questions and comments here, and then we're going to put on the road, and it's going to
Well,
be.
I didn't finish my story about going over to Sammy's.
Oh, okay, all right.
Because I was
Let's hear
telling
it,
all
man.
these stories. I was telling all these stories, and I said, you know, I told everybody about the clock I got from the high school. It got gifted to me that somebody won the auctions. I said, yeah, I get some pretty cool things that have been gifted to me. I said, Chad called me and well, Tanner actually called me and said, Grandpa, I didn't know you had Mickey Mantle's bat presented to you by David Mantle, you know. I goes, yeah, I got some pretty cool things gifted to me. He goes, man, and then I put it on FakeBook, and people were going, man, that's a really cool gift, you know.
Yeah, and Paul Conley, he was talking about it to me. He said, "Man, you don't realize how much that thing's worth."
And then I've been on my class page posting about my buddy's funeral, and I was gonna put that over there. I goes, yeah, because my other classmate, he got one of those clocks, and he put it on the class thing that he got gifted one of those clocks. And I said, yeah, he said he got the one out of the cafeteria. I said, yeah, I got the one out of the office because I spent a lot of time there. And then I was going to post that thing about that baseball bat, and I was going to go, yeah, I get some pretty cool things gifted to me. I said, I don't give a damn who you are. If you get a baseball bat presented to you from Mickey Mantle, hey, you're somebody. You know?
And he was from right around there where Steve Gaines grew up, Miami, right?
Yeah,
Right
that's where he grew up. Yeah, well, because you had a thing where he was throwing the baseball against the.
Yeah, I did an on the road
and
with the 75th celebration, Steve Gaines, and I think that's what 75th, it was birthday celebration. And I went by Mickey Mantle's and I videotaped his old childhood home, and there was a barn there, and they said that he used to practice pitching, and you could still see the dents in the tin that was on the side of that barn there. It was pretty cool. You could see where he was hitting that metal with that ball, you know.
But Sammy was talking about Hank throwing that fiddle, just throwing it, and Mike being there to catch it. You know, I said, yeah. When I worked with Foreigner, you know, I worked with Ian McDonald, and he was from King Crimson. He was a sax player and the guitar player. And when he'd get done with his sax thing, he would turn around and unclip his sax and gently hand it to me, you know. And I did that for a while, and I goes, man, just throw that thing to me. He went, like I was crazy. He goes, are you out of your freaking mind? I said, no, man, just throw it to me like this so I can grab the throat. You know, it's no big deal. Just pitch it easy. And so we started doing a little bit, and then he got confident, and you know, we started short speed, and then he got to the point where he would just unclip it and turn around and throw it to me about 10 feet away or whatever. You know, he really dug that, man. So we were in Australia. We were doing a television thing, and I told him, I said, yeah, when you unclip your sax, just throw it in the crowd. I'll be down there to catch it. He went, what? I goes, yeah, there's people down there. I said, I'll have security clear out of the way right there, and I'll have the cameras right on it. When you throw it in the crowd, it'll look cool as shit. So he did it, and when they premiered it and the band watched it, they all went, wow, that was freaking cool. He just threw it in the fucking crowd, and I was there to catch it. Yeah.
You never missed anything, did you? I mean,
no, I never missed it.
Because you were
God, if I'd have missed that thing, that would have been screwed, because that was the only one we had on the road.
Yeah, it's not like you got another one back there.
Yeah. So that's one of my stories.
Okay. Is that it? You done?
Yeah, well, no, Dave the Disciple's been going, man, you asked me for my address. And your stuff must have got lost. I says, no, man, I'm just.
Yeah, where we at with that, Craig? Where we at?
I'm working on it. Today I was putting. I have to make these triangle boxes so I can put that poster in there and stuff without everything getting all wrinkled. I finally got a way to get everything in there, but I got to make ends for the boxes. So I have to make 36 triangle ends to fit on the end of the boxes.
Yeah, that's the same thing I do. Is I make a box out when I send a poster off. I make a triangle. You got to cut the end and I ordered a bunch of blank cardboard off of Amazon, and I can cut it into a perfect. But you go to FedEx and you turn.
I go
their
to FedEx and they have those triangular boxes, but you just have to cut them and then make them.
Yeah.
yourself. So, yeah. But
So you're making headway then. And,
yeah, I'm making headway.
So when's the first one going out?
I'm fixing to start shipping stuff out here real quick.
Cool. That's some good news, man. So anybody that won any of those prizes that are still with us?
Fixing. You might be getting calls because I don't have everybody down for what color kazoo they wanted. Oh yeah, and Paul Keaton, I've mentioned before, you might have quit watching. I don't know. You might not like us. You might be fat and go, I ain't watching that sumbitch no more, even if he does owe me a prize. The dirty bastard calling me fat. Anyways, hey, Paul Keaton, you fat bastard, if you're still watching, send me your address so I can send you your shit, man. You fat bastard.
To the Stone Roadie at gmail.com.
Yeah, the Stoned Roadie at gmail.com. Yeah.
Oh, that's great, man. I can't wait till the people start getting their stuff and they start commenting in the comments.
Too.
It'll be worth it. It'll be worth it, you know. They waited so long. So yeah, I got a feeling you're getting closer.
Oh, I am. I'm getting close.
All righty. Well, let's jump into the comments real quick here and get this show on the road. Not too many here, just about 10 or 8, since I already read a couple, I think. Old Jerome Murphy, one of our longtime listeners, said he's looking forward to the On the Road with Griff Martin. Yeah, that was a pretty cool trip up there and talking with Buddy Crump. I put a couple things on there. Buddy Crump playing guitar, and
Alan's Firebird.
Yeah, Alan's old Firebird. So you guys check that out. You might have seen it on YouTube, but he actually was over at Steve Reynolds' house, and Steve had that Firebird. I get that Firebird and the Explorer mixed up all the time. So you'll hear me go, "Yeah, you played that Explorer." He said, "No, it was a Firebird." But yeah, he was really ripping it. You could hear Alan's old, and that's the one that they got thrown in the audience after it got broken, and Craig had to run out there and retrieve it from the crowd, and then it ended up
out there. I leaped right off the freaking front of the stage right into the crowd.
and then it ended up in Alan's garage attic, and Steve was after he died, Steve was cleaning his attic out and found it, and Larkin gave it to him, and he had a buddy put it back together, and then they got it back together just the way it was when Alan had it, and then old Buddy played it, and you'll get to hear that. But that second reel of him playing, that's not the same guitar. I don't think. I think that might have been one somebody else had, but yeah, old Buddy, he's a heck of a guitar player, and you guys make sure you keep track of Fortune Child, because they, they're moving up, man. They're gonna do something. You're gonna be seeing those guys breaking out one of these days. I think they're very dedicated, and they got a lot of their own original. That's one thing they do, is they have a lot of original music, and so keep an eye on them, and don't look at that recording that I did as something that's that great, because you need to go. They have some other videos on YouTube where you can really hear some of their music and quality sound and quality recording. A lot of it, that recording I did does not do it justice at all, but it was fun, and I got to chat with a little bit with Shelby, our Stonette, and find out what she's been up to lately. I wanted to talk to Derek Hess, but he was moving around so much. He's a moving target, but he was there. He was cool. He came down, but he only lived like about 3 miles away, and I think his air conditioner broke, and he was trying to get out of the house, because when your air conditioner breaks in Florida, you're done, man. You can't stay in the house. You can't sleep. It's just so freaking hot, and miserable and humid. I keep a little window unit for backup if my air ever goes down. And in the hurricane, I got another generator, and because like if your air conditioner went down, Craig, you'd be all right, wouldn't you? It's not that big a
Yeah,
deal.
but not really, but yeah. It would
Well,
be,
it wouldn't be
it
like
would,
Hell House.
no, it's like 60 or 70 in here right now. If it didn't have AC, it would be 77.
Oh, darn. That's what I keep mine at all the time.
I can't, I gotta have
Well,
it at
I
68
put a
or
thing
70
on
when I sleep.
Facebook and I asked people, what do you keep your temperature? And a lot of people, I got to find out there's people keep their shit at like 63. TP says she don't even have an air conditioner. She
I
lives
go
in
68 to
California, so
70. It just depends.
yeah. So, I don't know. What do you guys keep your air at? I keep mine at when I sleep, I got to have it on like 77. But during the day, I'm usually outside and I bump it up because, that bill gets high down here in Florida, man. It's that electric bill. That's no joke down here. That air running all day, that'll put you in the poorhouse.
I like a great big thick comforter on my bed. I don't like just a sheet or something. I like a great big thick comforter.
Yeah, so you can keep it really
Yeah,
low.
so I keep it. Yeah, I keep
Bill,
it.
in the wintertime, what do you keep it at?
Same about 68 or 70. About the
Yeah.
same,
Damn. No wonder you're still alive, Craig. That which is frozen does not age.
yeah. Shit,
You're
that's
like
not
a
that
old
cold.
frozen
Billy
chicken.
Powell, man, he would freeze you out. You get up in the morning and you'd be going, breathing frog. Man,
Really?
those buses were cold. We'd get up and turn the heat up, man. He'd keep those freaking, we call him Billy Freeze, man. He was,
No kidding.
yeah, he kept shit, he was like a freezer in his bus.
Yeah, and in that video on the Griff Martin, I did a videotape of where Leon Wilkinson, one of his houses that he lived at was on Dolphin Court or something like that. And I was talking to Lily about that. And that house on Bald Eagle,
Hmm.
Lily said, that's where I was conceived, at that house on Bald Eagle. And he said, man, Dad and Mom had to get out of there. That place was haunted.
I was out there a lot of times. I never.
Yeah, he
Mike
said that.
Sparks lived there too.
And Kent Griffith thought that place was torn down, but it's still there. He
Yeah,
would
it's
say, "No,
still
man,
there.
that place is torn down." I said, "No, it's not, man. I went and videotaped this right down the road from Steve Reynolds, not that far." And when I
It's
went
out
and
there
did
in
that,
nowhere land. There would be nowhere, well, no need to tear it down. It's out there.
well, it's kind of built up out there now, Craig. It's
Oh,
you
really?
probably saw, yeah, that video that I did. Uh, yeah, go back if you guys want to see that house. uh, I think it's on the first part one of the Steve Reynolds visit, and that's one of our biggest views was the Steve Reynolds and
Oh, the
Mike
Pops
Sparks
one.
and Pops, and yeah, those
Pops,
are
that was the
all.
biggest. I got a message from him. We gained 44 subscribers
Yeah, it's rare for
last
us to
month,
go
and Pops and this month, June, we gained 44 subscribers. And this is just the 16th this morning. So yeah.
Yeah, so you guys go like and subscribe if you haven't, because our monetization goes towards the plane crash survivors, which is not a lot, and so we want to try to run that up a little bit. But all right, let's jump in these comments and questions here, Craig. I was talking about Jerome Murphy, and he wants to know, when was it that Skynyrd started making some significant amount of money, like able to buy houses and cars.
75.
75. Yeah,
Yeah,
what month?
about the middle of 75, yeah.
Yeah, well, there you go, Jerome.
When
That
when
sounds about
Peter
right.
when Peter Rudge took over, Peter Rudge took over and bought out um, Al Cooper and Al Walden, and then the band started getting some of their money.
Yeah, because they sold their rights, or I mean,
Yeah, they didn't make anything because Al Cooper and Alan Walden owned basically all the rights, like all managers do. When a band starts up, that's the first thing they do is get you to turn over all your royalties that you're going to make on anything you ever do. So
yeah, we'll have to ask Lely, what that happened with his dad's royalties. Not that,
well,
we're
he
trying to
gets
be.
them. He gets them. Lely gets them.
Yeah, that's cool.
Hmm.
I'm sure it's a pretty significant amount too.
Uh,
But yeah, there you go, Jerome, at the middle of 75. So that
Out there, yeah. That's when we
what
all started making a little bit of money. We didn't
that
make
was like the third album, wasn't it? Or the second
no
album?
the middle of seven. They did the second album in the beginning of '74. Yeah, the third album was Nothing Fancy, and then the fourth out. Yeah, about Give Me Back My Bullets time. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Which that
About Give
album
Me Back My Bullets. Right
and
around.
that album was not that popular, was it?
Right around the time when Saturday Night Special, when they did the song in Longest Yard, Burt Reynolds movie.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
imagine they made some money off of that, huh?
they started making a little bit of money.
And then
Yeah, they
Rick,
started making royalties off of Alabama started
yeah, Alabama was their
started hitting things about that time too.
yeah, that's what Ronnie said. That's our rambling man. That song. There that was he said that's our rambling man right there, which turned out to be. Then Rick Walker, he wants to know, and I think I can help with this one. Let's see what my opinion and what Craig's opinion is. He wants to know, why is Gene Odom always bashing Gary Rossington? Is it because Gary wouldn't give him any money? Well, the thing I got from it, and you tell me if I'm wrong, is they were doing that thing where they said they would do 10 shows and they would quit. And then they were about to finish up, and Gene found out that Gary had planned to do more, and I believe he called Judy and told her, and Judy came in there and said, "Hey, what the hell's going on?" And Gary got all pissed off and kicked Gene out of the damn tour.
Yeah, I wouldn't let him
So,
sell no more books or nothing. Yeah, books or
yeah,
t-
so probably a little bit of both there, but he was security for him then.
Yeah, I mean, if Gene could sell stuff at Skinner shows, he'd make a good income. It's you
And
know.
he's the only, yeah, he had a special
I mean, he
letter that
really
they
would.
all
If he set
signed.
up, if he set up a table out there, it would. Of course, it would take away from what they make, which is. But yeah, Gene could do pretty good at Skinner shows, but
But if it was
ain't
that
no
book,
way they're gonna let that happen.
was it that blue book? Did he have the blue book out then?
Yeah, the Blue Book. Yeah.
Which, that's not going to hurt Skinner's sales any, I don't think.
No, it's stupid shit.
But yeah,
All
so
that
that's
stuff.
basically, we have the same opinion of what happened then, pretty
Yeah,
much.
it's just greed,
But Gene, he said
a power
to
trip. I
me
don't
one
know what the
time, he
hell it is.
said that when Gary dies, I'm going to piss on his grave, and and he goes, I'm a man of my word. Well, he may have done that, but I've seen several times where he'll go out of his way to go to Gary's gravesite and pick trash. And matter of fact, he was out there cleaning Gary's gravesite up, and that's when he ran into Dale Krantz Rossington out there, came to visit Gary, and another thing too, like, I forget who the last funeral they were at together. They they're amicable. They talk to each other. It's almost like the sheepdog and the wolf. You know, they clock in, they raise hell, and they clock out, and they're buddies. You know, these plane crash survivors and Lynyrd Skynyrd, there's some crazy relationships there. I think they hate each other outwardly, but you know, deep down inside, they stick up for each other. It's kind of weird, but it's dysfunctional. But you know, when you involve drinking and drugs in a plane crash, then you know that's what you get. So,
Well, Gene was Ronnie's best friend, period. That's
yeah,
just the way I look
he
at it.
trusted
You know?
he trusted Gene with.
You know, Ronnie brought Gene in, and that was Gene's best friend. And I'm sure Ronnie said, "Man, whenever I make it, you'll have a job." And Ronnie went out and pulled Gene off. Gene worked as had a good job and had would have a good income coming in today from pensions, but he gave
From
that
iron
up
working,
to go
yeah.
work with Lynyrd Skynyrd and lost it. And
Not to mention all the medical issues he's
that's
got
all I
from
know.
the plane crash.
Yeah, I didn't walk away from anything. When I joined, I fell into something. I didn't walk away out of nothing. I fell into something. Not a gold mine, but a good.
But you know, Gene,
Everybody says, "Man, you had the greatest life. You did so much stuff, But
and Gene losing his eye, you know,
yeah, that's
to lose your eye in a plane crash, you know, it's like, you know, everybody's
especially
got,
after predicting, almost predicting like something was going to happen. Like Gene kind of just knew something was going to happen, and then to get screwed up because of it, that
Yeah.
sucks.
and
Because I had no worries or no idea at all anything was going to happen, and I was in it, but I was knocked out, and I got banged up some, but I'm okay. Got some
and Gene
Yes.
says there's a lot of things that go along with having, you know, one of those glass eyes. It's very irritating to the eyelid, and the eyelash rubs on it, and you know, there's things that he goes through he just don't talk about, but I've been around him and talked to him about it, and it's debilitating, the stuff that he's had happen to him. All of them, man. You know, they all have their own little injuries. Craig's the only one that doesn't remember how he got hurt. You know.
I get a lot of comments. I we started this basically off FakeBook. I mean, you hardly hear anybody doing YouTube that really relates to FakeBook more than they did YouTube, because we never started this to make any money. The only reason we started this because of FakeBook people wanted me to write a book. I said, I ain't writing no damn book. And then somebody wanted me to do a podcast, and I agreed to that. And then that fell through. And, me and Griff just got together and started doing podcasts and just started to do a few. And now we're up to 312. But man, I bash people on FakeBook, and I people are mentally ill, and I said, man, just all kind of stuff. And especially one guy in particular said, man, who do you think you are? And you've been married 5 times, and you just smoke pot all day long, and stuff. And I just let that comment go, and some other person come in and go, talk about hate. But I know this person, and they're morbidly obese. and they're pretty sick because of it, and they need an operation, but they won't give him an operation at least unless he loses 100 pounds, and he can't do that. So I get, but the guy's intelligent, and that's what I don't understand about people. The guy's got a business, make very well off, but he's morbidly obese. I mean, you'd think somebody like that would be. But I knew another person that was, very well off, that was morbidly obese and couldn't get around. And you go, why would somebody with that much money put themselves in that position? He grew up poor, and when he got money, he compensated, ate ate, thinks he, I don't know what, but that was his excuse, anyways.
That was a lot like what happened whenever I went to work in the space program or the shuttle program in '87, and there were a lot of Apollo program old guys there, and they used to tell me all the time. They said, when we got this job here, you got to remember this was a swamp, and then all of a sudden the government bought all this property and put these launch pads, and we were making California wage, and we were a bunch of rednecks, and you go, we went from being dirt poor to as rich as you could be, for somebody in that area. He said, and if you didn't have a big old belly to show off how rich you were, then you looked like you were poor. He said that was a status if you had a big old belly.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So that was their excuse.
Yeah. But man, I'm far from perfect, man. I got many, 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 many flaws,
No.
And I was even obese at one time, And
Yeah.
I said, man, I'm not going to live like this. This is horrible. So I probably am a little, that's all I do all day long is think. I don't eat things, but like I said before, I just started exercising, every day in a routine, but before I didn't exercise. I just sat around and I knew I couldn't eat or I would get fat, so I just don't eat. But a lot of people just can't do that. They have to eat all the time.
Well, I was in the grocery store the other day, Craig, and I usually I'll see something and I'll go, nah, Craig wouldn't eat that. And then I saw these peanut butter filled pretzels, and I said, screw it, there's a nuclear war coming anyway, and I went ahead and bought it, and I've been kind of munching on those here lately.
We get a local paper here, and I don't normally read it, but I was reading the part about green today, and there was some woman was looking at bathing suits, and some guy was taking pictures of her, and all I could think about was that she was probably obese and looking at these bathing suits, and somebody called because they caught this guy taking pictures of this woman.
He was probably a podcaster.
And they reported him, and I said, man, that could be me just doing it just to laugh. Look at this big fat woman looking at bathing suits. People think I'm a pervert, and I'm just laughing at her.
Like the big fat lady when you had your dogs in the car and she thought that it was too hot out there. She called you a name. You called her what'd you call her?
You stupid fat whore. Yeah.
And she said, you did not call me fat.
Yeah, you did not just call me fat.
So she must have been the other one, the other word. She didn't mind being that. She just didn't like being fat.
But yeah, but I got a lot of problems. Shit. How long has it been since I sent these packages out? But I've been retired since 2006. And I basically just don't do anything that I don't want to do. So it's hard to get me motivated to send these things out.
But the weird thing about it is if somebody buys something on an auction, you get it right out.
Oh, well, yeah, like that camera. Oh, yeah, what's his name?
Kent Griffith. Yeah, we forgot to mention
the camera. That goes to Survivors too. That came from Robert Wheatley. Yeah, thanks for reminding me of that.
Yeah,
that's a Robert Wheatley. That camera, we sold that for $150, and that goes to the Survivors.
Yeah, that came from Kent Griffith. And another thing I wanted to mention about Kent, he's the one who set me up with that whole on the road this time. He took me around. Man, that guy, Kent. KG's on the comments. Always read his comments when you see him because he's got a lot of cool stuff in there. It's just too long for me to read, but you guys need to check out whenever he comments because he was around the band members and, he's, at the post plane crash guys, but spent a lot of time with him and he's just really knowledgeable about that stuff. So, got a question here from Paula O'Sullivan. It was a really good question, Craig. It says, why did Steve take Alan's spot and Alan moved to the place Ed used to stand?
They couldn't hear the bass guitar. They couldn't hear the bass, or somebody. One of them needed to hear more piano and the bass guitar, and we had to put a cabinet on stage right, in between Alan's and Steve's, or Alan and or Steve became Steve's rig. We had to put a bass monitor over there by the keyboard, so.
Yeah, I always wondered that too, and that's a great question, Paula. Because
that was a hearing thing. One of them wanted to hear more piano or bass guitar. I don't remember how the thing went, but that was the problem. It was so they could hear what they needed to hear.
So they had it set up like it was when Ed was there to begin with, and then they said, "No, man, I can't hear," and they switched.
Steve moved over to where Alan was because it was a hearing thing. One of them needed to hear something they couldn't hear, so they just switched.
Well, there you go, Paula. Great question, and you get 5 stars for that question. And then Carol says she really liked to hear more about Larry Junstrom. There's usually not much info on him, which, that was, we were talking about the kind of stuff that he liked to do and, what kind of a personality he had. Really smart guy. And I guess he wasn't making enough money being with Lynyrd Skynyrd, just like Leon, that's why Leon quit and went to the ice cream factory because they weren't making $5 a day or whatever. Ain't gonna
$3 a day.
Yeah, so that's
what cracks me up about Ricky Medlock when he said he called Ronnie and said, "Man, you need a roadie or somebody to drive the truck or something." Yeah. And Ronnie said, "You still play drums?" Yeah. That's a pretty good. Ricky does some good podcasts and talks about the old days. Yeah, he did.
He was around, man. He was around then, and I can't think of a better guy to take, to be in the band. You got, him and Johnny. That's what's keeping things together is him and Johnny, pretty much, as far as the older crew of Ronnie Van Zant's blood still running through the band, and then, of course, you got one original member. Some people might not think he is, but he is. I mean, hell, he was in Muscle Shoals, recorded on Skynyrd albums and things. So, you got to give credit.
Ricky said that's how the Van Zants and his family met, because Lacey and sister would go see Ricky's grandpa playing in the band, and Ricky was what did he play? Fiddle. When he was 3 years old, he was playing fiddle in a band.
in a radio station too.
Yeah,
right?
When he's like 3 years old playing fiddle.
Yeah, he's a talented guy. Good singer too.
I've never heard him try to play fiddle or nothing.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a great voice. Ricky Medlock, man. And then Jeff said the same thing you said, Craig. He said you should have Mike Sparks on more often, so whenever you can't answer a question, he can.
Well, Mike wasn't around for the original band. He started with Rawson and Collins, so Mike doesn't know.
Right, not the old stuff, but the newer stuff.
Yeah, the original band.
And we do talk about a lot of post-plane crash, We got Mike Estes on, or, Mitch Scooby, a lot of these guys, that were around, Steve Reynolds and Mike Owings, a lot of guys that were around post-plane crash that have a lot of great stories. Just a whole plethora of information, skin information there. Then some Franklin Ferg asks, what's the chance of getting Alan's daughter on? I'd say probably next to
None.
zero.
She wants absolutely nothing to do with this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, she's kind of Lynyrd Skynyrd out, I think. But you never know. Who knows, man? If she's watching it, maybe she'll go, you know what? I think I'll go on if they want me to. But
No, Amy would. No way would Amy come on here. No way.
no.
No.
Well, we almost had Artemis' daughter come on. That was close.
Yeah.
That was close. But then he went to her wedding, and then we had it set up, and then I guess he told her don't do it, and then so we'd like to get Artemis on. I'm going to take my camera with me when I go see him in Clearwater in August. I've already talked to Barry Lee Harwood, and he knows I'm coming, so maybe I can get a little interview with Artie, do a little on the road, and get back there with him and Barry Lee when they come there, and see if I can get him to say a few words. And because you and Artie have talked since then, and
Yeah.
and he's probably not as pissed off as he was when you sold the funeral brochure. So it's funny how you sold that funeral brochure again here recently, and not a peep.
Oh yeah, it only sold for $185. I was a little.
Yeah, not even a peep about it this time. Last time it was
one. But
it was you dirty, rotten bastard.
That's the third one I've sold. The first two went for like 800, but the third one went for 185. But who can sell the funeral broshure for $185? I mean, really?
Yeah,
that's still a pretty good price.
Then we got one more comment here from Ray Carter, which is a very good comment, and he's actually says what I couldn't remember. If you watch Everyone Loves Guitar, the interview with Jeff Carlisi, that is a great interview, and it tells all about that's where I got the information I got about his guitar and how it was made. He took Alan's guitar and to a guy that he knew that built guitars, and the guy measured it and looked at it, and he said because Carlisi couldn't afford, I think Alan paid like $5,000 for that guitar or something. And he said,
4,000.
Yeah, he couldn't afford that.
But that was in Gary paid $2,500 for Bernice, and Alan paid $4,000 for the Explorer, from what I remember. But that was 75.
Yeah, that's a lot of money back then, man. Who could afford that? So yeah, Jeff Carlisi went and had it made, and you guys just got to go watch that Everyone Loves Guitar with the interview with Jeff Carlisi, because he talks about a lot of cool stuff. And Carlisi, he's even got tutorials on there how to play 38 special music. So he's just a really cool guy. He really is, and I think he's kind of tied into the Skynyrd thing. He was a big Cars fan. Benjamin Orr, he was buddies with him, and some of 38 Special Music, they talk about one song that he wrote that came from some chord progressions off of the Cars music. So go check that out. But anyway, that's it, Craig. All the comments and questions, and you guys check out this On the Road that I did here at the end. It's not real long, but it's pretty interesting, and stick around for that. So it's happy trails after that.
Yeah, it's Wake and Bake 313, and after the click, you'll see the Griff's video, and that's a wrap. Oh, poop. I'm gonna have to cut this out. I forgot to switch over.
Maybe I'll leave it. All right, on the road with Griff Martin, and here I am in Jacksonville, killing a little time before I go to Jack Rabbit's bar, where I'm going to be watching Fortune Child this evening. And I'm running around town here, and just some information people might want to know about. This is the funeral home where Ronnie Van Zant, where they had his funeral, and right here is where Ronnie's funeral was. I'm going to be doing a little running around before I go down there. I hope this wind isn't bothering the sound here, but yeah, this is the funeral home where Ronnie Van Zant had his funeral. Orange Park, Jacksonville, Florida. Over here at the cemetery, and a lot of people have already probably seen a lot of this. Some people may not have, and that's the reason I'm going to stop over here and just do a little video. And this is the burial site of Steve Gaines, and where Ronnie used to be. This is where they broke into their into the vault, and that's Ronnie's vault that they broke into, which I think it was in the back here. From what I remember, they broke into that and did get some things out of there, and I think the same thing with Steve. It was pretty terrible, but and you can see somebody left an unopened Budweiser right there. Maybe that was Steve's favorite. So yeah, over here at the cemetery where Steve Gaines is buried and Ronnie Van Zant used to be. And what do we have here? It's in a little Bible. And then there's some other stuff here, some little trinkets, shells, little coin there, and there's a free bird. Crazy stuff gets left here. Okay, just thought I'd stop over here in case nobody's seen it, and I'd videotape it so you can. And one more thing just before I leave here. Steve Gaines is no longer buried here, and I don't think too many people know where he is buried. And Ronnie's been moved, of course, so neither one of them are no longer here. Not too far from the cemetery where we just were, where Ronnie and Steve were originally buried, is this theater. Now, I don't know if it was an AMC or what the name of the theater was at the time, but this is where Judy and Kathy Collins both came to go to the movies, and this is where Judy found Kathy in the restroom, unconscious in the stall, and they rushed her to the hospital, and I believe she died on the way. So I just wanted to show a little history here of that. The theater where Kathy Collins lost her life, either here or on the way to the hospital. Check out the raccoon on the garbage can, right next to Leon Wilkerson's house. Now this is Dolphin Street, and this is Leon Wilkerson's old house, right here. That might be Leon the raccoon. Might be Rabbit. Huh. But yeah, this is where Leon used to live. I don't want the neighbors to come out and get mad at me here, so I won't stay too long. But This may or may not be where Joe Crimp lived with Leon Wilkerson and AC/DC stayed with him. I'm gonna have to do some more research on that, but I thought I'd stop by. Okay, we're at the venue here with Fortune Child, and we're gonna be going inside here and do a little videotape, and this is gonna be some new music Fortune Child's put out. And I'm gonna go over here and talk to old Buddy Crump for a second here. Hey Buddy, you got a minute?
Yeah, man.
So here's Buddy Crump, and this is the lead guitar player for Fortune Child. I hear you got some new music, man.
It's all new stuff, man. We got a new record coming out.
Is this the first time you played it live anywhere?
This is the first pass at it. So these people are the guinea pigs tonight. How many songs you got? We'll probably have about 5 or 6. One of them gets weird. We like to jam, so they're gonna give us a little bit of a longer set.
So it's gonna be what, like 45 minutes?
About 45.
45 minutes.
45.
Something happened. You guys were supposed to be on second, and then you got bumped up to first, right?
Yeah, the first band, Danny Dukes, are not. They're not going to be able to play tonight. So they moved us to first, and
cool.
so yeah.
How's the thing going with the Black Crows? You know, you guys.
We did that run, and it was really cool. Rich and Chris are very nice.
They like you guys' style, right?
We had a cocktail with Chris backstage. It was very nice.
That's cool.
He told us a lot of good stories.
How many shows you think you played with them?
I think we were supposed to be on about 5 or so, I think. I'm not really sure. The first time we went out, some of the days got canceled because they were on tour with Aerosmith.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Steven Tyler.
I was set up to go to that show in Clearwater.
Yeah.
And then they canceled, and Brian Campbell was supposed to be there.
Mm-hmm.
But then you guys hooked me up with the tickets over there, you know, in Jacksonville, and that was cool, man.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
You guys did great, man.
Thank you, man.
You got some. You gonna play any of that stuff tonight, or this is all new stuff?
Well, since we have some more time, we might throw an older song.
And Kent was telling me you got a new song that you're really proud of.
There's a couple, yeah. There's one that's, I mean, you know, it's super hard to play favorite.
Right. Well, it's all up to whoever likes it, that's listening. So I'm sure. And I'm going to try to get some of it out.
Yeah.
We'll put it on the podcast.
Absolutely,
and I'm going to be right up front there recording some of it.
Yeah.
I hope it's not echoing around in there too much.
No,
Sound like it's pretty good acoustics.
Yeah.
But
it'll be really loud when we play. So,
that's the way people like it.
That's
man.
the way it. Man.
So what? A little bit about rig. What are you playing out of an amp?
I'm playing a 1970 Silverface. Well, it's modded to be a blackface, but it's a Silverface super reverb.
Cool.
Fender.
I got a little Princeton reverb.
Yeah. The whole new album is recorded with a Princeton.
Yeah, this little Princeton I got. If you ever want to borrow it,
Princeton
man.
and a PB Pacer.
Yeah, it's a little tiny. It's a little tiny amp that I got, and Mike Estes, he's trying to talk me out of it all the time.
Fantastic for recording.
Yeah, that's
fantastic for recording.
I guess if you got a PA, you know, you can mic it, and it's.
Yeah.
You guys got some pretty big stuff. What you got? Different guitars you're playing, or just one?
It's just my Les Paul that I usually play.
Les Paul.
Yeah.
How old is that Les Paul? Is it a new one?
It's a newer one. Yeah, I walked into the guitar store one day. I just picked it up off the wall.
Cool.
I just loved it. It it's a 50s model.
Oh wow.
So it's
cool.
it's a 50s spec. So it's
and a lot of people haven't seen it probably, but that video of you playing Alan's Explorer.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
That was a Firebird.
That's been about 5 years. Oh, it was a Firebird.
Yeah, it was a Firebird.
It was the Firebird. That's right. Yeah,
that was a Steve Reynolds place. it was amazing to play. It sounded phenomenal, and I see why Alan.
Yeah, what did you think of it, man?
Well, it's just a weapon. Loud, and the true tone of the Skynyrd Boys comes out loud.
They
super clean and super loud, and it was the amp breaking up. It was just they were inspired by the Who, and that's what they did, you know. And Alan's tone. I mean, like when you get to that level of, I mean, you're talking about like a 130 dB show.
Yeah, that's
for the most part.
I got to see him. You know, in Lakeland
the tone
Civic
changes.
Center.
It's a different kind of thing when you get to that volume level. So that's why they sounded the way they did. You can't get away with it.
You guys got such a unique sound,
Yeah.
you know, and you did a tour over in Europe, right?
Did a Europe.
How did that go?
It was good. It was really cool.
New experience, huh?
Yeah, I'm glad to be
How were the
back.
people over there? Were they pretty
Very
cool?
supportive.
Where all did you go?
Spain, France, and Belgium.
And how long were you there?
About 3 weeks.
Are you guys there by yourself, or did you go?
We were there. We had a support act over there, and it was really cool. It was basically just us and them, you know, and they booked us a show. You know, I don't know how many shows was it, maybe 10 or so, you know. And France was really cool.
Oh yeah.
France was really cool. Belgium, the people were just so supportive over there.
Yeah, they're rockers over there, man.
Very
you
much,
know,
very
and
much.
Estes, he makes
much,
a
yeah.
living over there. You
They
know,
like
at
heavy
Skinny
stuff
Molly.
over there. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Buddy
Yeah.
Crump, man. Appreciate the words, and
Absolutely.
and hopefully I'll get in there and be able to get some good footage.
Absolutely.
Thanks a lot, man.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, man.
Hey, Shelby, what's going on? We got Shelby Barrett here, our Stonette. Nobody ever really gets to see her that much.
Hey, y'all.
Except in the beginning of the podcast.
Rise and shine, everybody. It's time to wake and bake with Craig Reed and Griff Martin.
So how you been, Shelby?
Doing good, doing good.
What you
Happy
been
be
up
here.
to? You moved to St. Augustine,
Yeah,
huh?
I did. I absolutely love it here. I'm doing inflatables here and still doing it back in Mississippi, so just make the best of it.
Yeah, those things that the kids play on, the inflatables.
Yeah,
Shelby's
water
got
slides and bounce houses.
a business. You want to plug it?
Yeah, good time party rentals and small town inflatables.
And that's in St. Augustine in Jacksonville?
Right.
Cool. And Shelby came up here actually with Derek Hess, and he's in there talking to Steve
Yeah.
Reynolds. But she came down to see Fortune Child, and I just wanted to get a little bit of her on the video here because
Glad you did.
people don't get to see her. People don't realize I met Shelby at the monument, and then we drug her around to a lot of these events, and,
not
and
complaining.
she got kind of hooked on the Jacksonville, St. Augustine
Yeah,
area.
all it
and-
took was just that first trip
Yeah.
over, and I've just...
and you moved.
Yeah, I hadn't been able to get away since.
So now she's living in St. Augustine and loving life. It's kind of a one-horse town there where you
Yeah,
came
pretty
from, right?
much.
So a little bit of an excitement overload, huh?
Yeah.
All right, Shelby, it's good seeing you.
All right, good to see you too.
All righty.
This is Buddy Crump on the lead guitar, y'all. This is John Ward on the bass. This is everything we're playing tonight's brand new music. You guys are the first people to hear it, so this is pretty cool.
Yeah, Craig talks about fat folk and cigarette smokers too. So if you're fat and like to smoke, you might poke a little fun at you. Yeah, Craig likes to tell it like it is, so it's something that you wanna know. If your feelings get hurt real easy, you better not watch the show. If your feelings get hurt real easy, you better not watch the show. Happy trails to you until we meet again. Happy trails.